What's up guys, we're back again today with another video, and today we're going to start tackling our brakes for the 5th gen Camaro. So if you remember in our engine building videos, we use a lot of parts from Motion Raceworks. This is Motion Raceworks' sister company, TBM Brakes. This is their brake kit for the 5th gen Camaros. Part number on it's going to be 001-0278-1. And this is everything that comes in the kit. So we have our caliper brackets, our new calipers, our brake pads over here, all of our hardware, and then if you look right here, we have our rotors. As you can see, it's not like your typical rotor. This is actually a two-piece rotor, so we have this piece and this piece making up the rotor. So there's all that for the brake kit, and then moving on over here, we have our two line lock solenoids, our lines, and a couple other little fittings here and there. So we'll go ahead and get started on installing the brakes. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and install our rotors. And I apologize for the noise in the background. That is my AC running. Normally I try and turn it off while I'm talking. However, it is too hot today to not have that thing running. So we're going to leave it on, and hopefully you can hear this all right. So like I said, the first thing we're going to do is assemble our rotors. This one's already put together. What you're going to do is take your top piece right here, lay it upside down just like this, and then we'll take our rotor, and you want to assemble it with these cutouts right here facing up. TBM Brakes actually recommends that you dry install this without any Loctite or torque it down, and then try it on the hub. And then if you need a little bit less room, you can actually flip it over like this, and it'll pull it in a little closer. I installed this one facing out just like this. I'm going to install this one right here upside down. That way we have one of each. We can take it out to the car, mock it up, and see how everything fits. So we're just going to take this hardware kit right here and put a bolt and washer in each of these holes. And we're just going to snug it down for now. Like I said, we're just mocking it up, and then we'll go ahead and pull the bolts out, Loctite them, and then torque it down to spec after we've mocked it up. Alright, we've came onto the car and just mocked everything up real fast. So here we have our caliper bracket, just finger tight right here, and then we have our rotor installed the correct way like Motion Raceworks tells us to. And if we take our caliper and sit it on there, you can see our rotor is fairly centered in that caliper right there. And we have shims so we can move it a little bit if we need to, but we are pretty close just right there. And as you can see right here, the rotor that we installed backwards, our caliper does not line up. It's about a 1/4 inch off. And there we have it. We now know which setup we need to go with to get our fitment right. So if we have our rotor laying upside down just like this, we want it to go with our cutouts right here facing up, just like this rotor right here. So we'll go ahead and take both these apart. I'll flip this rotor around, and then we can go ahead and Loctite these bolts and tighten them all down to 18 foot-pounds. Now that we have our rotors together, we're ready to install them onto the car. So we just have our caliper bracket right here, which have our bolts ran through the backside with a lock washer and a washer. So they are just snug by hand. So this is on here, so now we can go ahead and set our rotor on. Push it all the way back on there, and then we'll take a couple lug nuts and tighten them down to hold it in place. Now this is all on, we can go ahead and install our caliper. One thing I like to do real quick before I install them is you have this pin that goes through for your brake pads, and there's a little safety clip on the end. I like to remove that real quick before we put it on, just so that way it's already done and out of the way. So our caliper is just going to set on just like this onto our bracket, and we'll use these two Allen head bolts, run it through just like this, and it'll thread in right there. And we're just going to finger tighten these down because we're probably going to end up having to space it. I had to space the other side, it's already done. We'll take our other bolt in the bottom hole, line it up, and then we will just lightly snug both of them down. Alright, so so now that our caliper's on, I just went ahead and slid our 2 brake pads in real quick. And if we go and check over top, you can see on that side our gap right there in between the rotor and the brake pad. Then if we come over to this other side, we have a gap like that. So hopefully you can see that. Our gap on this side is smaller than this side right there. So what we need to do is shim this caliper this way a little bit to even our gap out. So how we're going to do that is Motion Raceworks gives you a shim kit with this brake kit that you can put on these Allen head bolts. And if our gap was the opposite way, if we needed this caliper to come this way a little bit, we would just use that shim kit right there. We need to come this way. So what I'm going to do is I'll take this caliper bracket back off and put a washer right here in between the caliper bracket right here and the knuckle. So that'll bring this whole thing this way. It'll actually probably bring it this way a little bit too much, but then we can use the shim kit that they give us to push it back this way a little bit. So the shim kit that comes with the brakes is right here. You have these washers. There's 2 different thicknesses. There's these thinner ones right here, and then you have these thicker ones. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, put a washer in between the knuckle and our caliper bracket, and I'll probably try 2 of these washers to even it back out. That's what I did on the driver's side, and it worked out pretty good. So we'll try it on this side, and hopefully it works out. Alright, now we're back. We got our caliper shimmed out to where we need it. Now, if you look down in there, got our gap on that side, our gap on that side. We're pretty even right there. Hopefully you can see it. Also, our rotor is pretty centered on our caliper right here if you look. So what I ended up doing was, if you see that red washer in there in between the bracket and the knuckle, I put that in there. If I had thinner washers, I probably wouldn't have had to shim it as much over here, but those are the only ones I had. And then let me grab the light real quick. If you see right there in between our caliper and our caliper bracket, those washers right there, I end up going with 2 of the thicker ones and 1 of the thinner ones on this side. So we have that right there, and then our red washer right there. That got us our thickness we needed. So you got to do each side individually, because like I said, the other side I end up using 2 of the thicker washers, but this one I need a little bit more. So we're good there. Now we can go ahead and pull our caliper back off, pull our bracket off. We're going to take all the bolts out, red Loctite everything, and then we'll tighten everything down to 37 foot-pounds and reinstall it. Alright, we are now ready to install our line lock. Real quick before we do that, I'll just go over the whole braking system so far. I had to pull all this out whenever I painted the engine bay, so I just put it all back in. We got our brake booster back there, just painted it up real quick. We have a new master cylinder and reservoir. This was originally a V6 car, and the bore that goes into the brake booster right here is a smaller diameter ID. So I went ahead and swapped it out to the ZL1 one. It's a little bit bigger. We got our hard lines ran. Still need to tie them up, but they're in there. Put our ABS module back in. I'm gonna come over to the side. There's that trim piece that goes up in there. It's back in. Our ABS sensor's in. Same thing, still need to tie it up, but it's on there. And then our hard line ends right there. So that's where we're going to be mounting our line lock, right there on the passenger side. Then if we go around to the driver's side, same thing. We have our fitting that ends right there. So I'll go ahead and grab the line lock stuff, show you how we're going to put it together real quick, and then we'll go ahead and throw it on. Alright, so we just got to put our line locks together real quick. You can see this one's already put together, ready to go. I'll just show you everything that it is real quick. So we have our line lock right here. This is a TBM. Part number is 52-1022. It'll come with the line lock, our wiring harness, our little baggie of parts, and then our instructions. So we're good there. So if we look at the line lock, on this side you can see sensor, in and out. So our inside is going to be where our hard line comes out on the car. The outside is going to run to the caliper. So this baggie of parts right here, we have these two little brass pieces. Those are for if you're running flared lines. We're adapting everything over to -3AN, so we don't need those. And then the little set screw is just to plug your sensor port if you don't run a sensor. We're going to go ahead and put the set screw in for now because I don't have sensors yet. I'll go ahead and order them, but we'll just plug it up for now. So there's that. On our inside, we need to run this adapter. This is going to run from our hard line to the -3AN in the line lock. So there's the part number. And then on our outside, we need to run this fitting right here. This is just a male-to-male -3AN. And then we can connect that to our braided line right here. There's the part number. And then lastly, we have our mounting kit. So it comes with the bracket, screws, and bolts. And what that's going to look like is it'll go on the back of the line lock, just like this. And then this hole right here, I'll probably just drill and riv nut a hole in the fender well, and then we'll just mount it right there. So I'll go ahead and put this other one together, and then we'll take them out to the car, mount them up real quick, and we should be good to go there. I just went ahead and mocked it up on the car, and if you see, we got that Sharpie line right there. So it should sit just like that. And I think that'll be pretty good. So let's go ahead and pull this off real quick. We'll put a riv nut right there where that Sharpie mark is, and then we should be good to go. All right, and there we have it. As you can see, we got our line lock in there mounted nice. Hard line coming in right there to it. And we got our braided line coming down to our caliper right there. So I'm real happy with that. And then I end up tying up the ABS cable right here. I end up finding the perfect size wire clamp at AutoZone. And for some reason there's an M6 hole tap in the side of that strut. Maybe for this sensor, I don't know, but that worked out great. It looks nice and clean, so I'm real happy with that. All in all, I mean, these things are gorgeous. You can see how humid it is in here. It's already starting to rust a little bit, but no big deal there. So there we go. The only thing we have left to do is I need to get some brake fluid and bleed the brakes. TBM actually says that they recommend only using their 5.1 brake fluid on all their brake setups like this. So I need to order some of that. They say if you were plumbing a system from scratch just like this, you need at least 4 of their 12-ounce bottles. So I'll go ahead and order that, bleed the brakes at a later time. But other than that, we're about done. Still got to do the line lock wiring right there, but we'll save that for a later date whenever we start wiring up the engine and all that. But I mean, all in all, super happy. So we're going to end it right there. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Next video, we'll go ahead and get started on the transmission. I got all the parts in, so we'll go get started on that next. But I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.